back to part two of our interview with Javik Laser. Here we continue to discuss with James's business and how he's been using his technology. We also see a very interesting application he created during the COVID 2020 pandemic. So with your laser, you've got the JobControl vision camera system. And what made you choose that option, and how do you see yourself going forward with it?
So we had a company from Cambridge that were sending us acrylic panels that were UV printed. And they came with registration marks on them. They would normally cut them in-house with their CNC engraver, but because they had 3M double-sided tape on the back, the rotary cutter wouldn't cut it without plucking all of the 3M tape off the back. So they asked us if we could cut them out. We could, and we did, and they were sending us thousands of sheets of these at a time. On the old laser, I built a jig to put them in the right place and would just run them that way, which we were quite successful at, but I had to set that up every single time they sent me a job. So I had to reset the laser up from scratch, if you like, with a new template to fit their acrylic panels in. And the Trotec has obviously got the camera system on it. The panels have got the registration marks on it, so all I needed to do was put the two together, really. The amount of time that saved alone was, the setup time was reduced massively by at least an hour just to set the laser up, because I didn't need to set anything up particularly. You line up the registration marks and then you chuck the sheets in there pretty much. So that was one of our biggest jobs for it. I've got a job at the moment where I've got some cardboard templates that want cutting out. They've all been printed with registration marks. So it just makes it so much faster. You put it in, line the camera system up, press start, and then just press repeat, and away it goes.
I'm guessing you haven't had much in terms of wasted material either. It's fast and fairly accurate.
It's fast and very accurate, yes. Yeah, and when they keep sending me these printed parts, they're leaving quite a big bleed gap between all of the printed parts. And I've spoken to them about reducing that gap, because I don't need a 10 mil gap between the sheets. I can have a 2 mil gap between the sheets and it will still work as well.
That's the benefit of, obviously, that you see a lot smaller spot size in terms of the engraver and being able to just cut through it more efficiently.
Yes, yeah, and it was a huge saving on the material. We can get another 6 parts on a sheet, so it's a big saving. It's a big saving for them, and it obviously takes no longer for me to cut out. Really, another 6 bits to cut out is probably another 15-20 seconds. That's all.
Wow, that really is quite a time saving.
Yes, yeah. So time, material, yeah, it's all saved.
It's excellent. And obviously with your previous laser, it would have been a case of you'd have to really do a lot of kind of soul searching whether it was feasible in terms of costs and time.
Yes, yeah, because the positioning system on the old laser is nowhere near as accurate. You're more or less lining stuff up by eye, and that's almost impossible to do. Whereas with the Trotec, you put something in there, you engrave it, and if it's not quite right, you put it back in and engrave it again, and you know it's going to be in the same place. So yeah, it is very good for that side of it.
Excellent. And obviously you've mentioned that the printing or the engraving of printed pictures before. Is that something, again, that wouldn't have been previously possible? Would your old machine have not had the capability to reproduce photos?
It can reproduce it, they're not as good quality, and they're certainly not as fast to produce. I mean, that photograph in the corner, that took around about 15 minutes to engrave that on the Trotec. Well, I'd be looking at well over an hour, and we still wouldn't have the detail that has got now, because the spot size is so big, and because it's such a detailed picture, it would have just all been a blur. So it wouldn't have looked as good, I don't think.
Excellent. That's good. It's always good to branch out and try new things, like you say, and on your third day, you're keen to hit the ground running.
Yes, and because this is my hobby, I come in here and I do things at the weekend as well. So although I'm working here during the week, I still come in here at the weekends and play on stuff that I think is going to be interesting. And I like to try and push the limits of what the machine will do. And at the moment, I don't think I'm anywhere near the limits. The machine keeps doing everything that I ask it to.
Okay. Brilliant. So what is the most complicated application you've done? I mean, obviously you've mentioned before that you like to push what you can do, but is there something that you really just kind of took and run with the idea?
I had an interesting project last year, which was to engrave the rim of a bowl. And it was a very nice hand-turned bowl, and it's a typical one that you don't really want to engrave. It's the great-grandma's bowl. There's only one of them, never irreplaceable. Can you engrave it? Well, we had to engrave around the outside of it at the top, and there was only 25mm lip that we could engrave on, and they wanted the text to go all the way around the outside. So that took some thinking about. Even with the Trotec, I slung it in, put a piece of clear acrylic over the top and marked the centre, engraved the acrylic just to make sure that it was right, and then took the acrylic off, focused it and pressed run, and it came out absolutely perfect. So that's the sort of thing that I wouldn't have attempted before, because I've never been massively confident in the accuracy of the older laser. There's several reasons why, but all of which have been dealt with a Trotec. The problems are not there. So it gives you the confidence to do these jobs.
Excellent. And like you say, of course, it's a one-off, one-of-a-kind piece, and it really enhances your reputation when you ace it, but you don't want the other side of it if it doesn't.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. I have been on the other side where we've made a mess of something, but that's normally when there's 5,000 of and you've done 2 of them wrong. So I can live with that, but I don't want to mess up Granny's bowl.
I was going to say it cost a lot more to find the replacement.
Yes. Yeah.
Brilliant. How do you see Javik developing using laser technology? Do you see the future for more lasers, larger lasers, perhaps?
Definitely more and definitely larger. Just before the dreaded COVID and lockdown, we were looking quite seriously at a bigger laser. I spoke to Johnny, the sales guy, and he said, "How are you getting on?" And I said, "I've got 2 problems at the moment. The laser's not big enough and I haven't got enough of them." Of which he said that he could solve both of those problems for me. So we were looking into that, and then unfortunately COVID struck. So it's taken a back seat for the time being, but this last month we're actually back where we were pre-COVID. So if that trend remains, then we will be on the serious hunt for more lasers, because our productions are going up, our customer base is going up, so we're only heading in one direction, which is bigger and expansion, and I certainly see more lasers in our future.
You've obviously mentioned COVID then, it's still on everybody's minds. Have you actually done anything during the lockdown period, etc.? Have you taken orders for signage, or have you been creating PPE or anything like that?
No, we've not. Early on, I looked at doing PPE, and I very rapidly discovered that everybody in the world was trying to do PPE. So getting materials was very difficult. So I kind of signed myself out of that, although I did offer the service to anybody that could bring me the materials. We would cut the visors out, or we would cut masks out. We would do whatever we needed to, and that wouldn't be at cost. So there would be no charge for that. We did have a company that almost came to us for 10,000, but they had a problem sourcing the materials, and in the end they got the wrong type, and we couldn't cut it on the laser anyway. So we didn't do too much for that side of it. I did do a quite a nice piece for the local hospital, which I did on our 3D CNC engraver. It was a large oak piece with an angel on it, and it was dedicated to the staff of the hospital, and we gave that to them. So that was about all we did from that side of it. We remained open, and we kept our services open to anybody that needed it, but we didn't delve into specifics really.
Yeah, that's no problem. Like you say, I understand, because a lot of, even so many other customers that I've been speaking to were looking to do that kind of thing. So very crowded market, obviously.
Yes. Yeah, there was just such a high demand for materials that it became so scarce, and people wanted so much money for it that it was just not possible.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining me today, James. It's been great to have you, and it's great to find out more about Javik Laser and how your company's progressing since you bought your Trotec. Thank you for your time.
No problem, mate. Thank you very much. Been nice to talk to you.
Thank you very much.